today we are going to be talking about how to become a full-time e-commerce seller. This will be our series on what it takes for you to become full-time on the different platforms. So with that, again, my name is Nicole Whitlock. My passion is helping people on their e-commerce journey, helping them to get organized, get focused, get consistent in their business. And if that's you, I'm here for you. So how to become a full-time seller? I think there's a bunch of different components to becoming a full-time seller, but making this your full-time gig or replacing your salary or whatever. But the three biggest ones are knowing your numbers, analyzing or figuring out what you need, where your gaps are, and then executing your plan. Those are the three biggest pieces of this journey. So let's break those down just briefly. So you got to know and learn your numbers. Your numbers are pretty much comprised of your time, money, and resources, along with analyzing your sales. So, time, money, and resources, you do have to determine what's your current household monthly expenses. We're talking about baseline, what you need to survive, not all the extra stuff that you have that's fluff. So, for those that are struggling to figure out what's fluff and what's not, like Netflix is fluff. That's not a necessity to live. Okay. Maybe it's something that you feel like you have to have, but it's really not. Food is necessary. A roof over your head is necessary. Water, gas, electricity, all of that is sort of a necessary thing. So Netflix will be optional. A cell phone, if you don't have any other phone or communications method, then you probably need a cell phone. But you got to look at your current plan. Do you really need that plan, or you need something different? So again, going through and figuring out what your monthly expenses are and just trimming the fat. So you need to determine your household expenses. And then once you just write out what you have right now. And then once you write it out, then go through and say, okay, I can eliminate this, 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 this. If it came down to, getting your expenses down to something that is something you can live off of. And that's just starting the process. And that's not saying that your luxuries or your conveniences will go away. That's just saying, if I had to do bottom line numbers, this is what they are. Okay. Then determine your business monthly expenses. Estimate if you're new, but you have monthly expenses depending on your method and of e-commerce and what platforms you're selling on. Do you have any subscriptions or memberships that you're paying for? Are you shipping things yourself? So then you have shipping expenses. Are there, again, I mentioned subscriptions. So again, go check and see what you have or maybe what you don't have. This may be an opportunity for you to explore some free stuff, free tools or limited use tools that have trials and things like that. So that might be an opportunity for you to look at that. Figure out what your expenses are and what you're spending. And that includes, like, if you're doing arbitrage and you're going out and you're driving your car and you're putting gas in your car, and that matters, and auto insurance, like insurance should already be just part of your general monthly expenses. But again, if this is what you're going to do and this is going to become your bread and butter, you need to figure that out. Then determine your available time. Time is huge. A lot of people, they want to do this business, but they can only commit 5 hours a week. Now, can you do this business at 5 hours a week? Yeah. But I wouldn't expect to make $10,000 at 5 hours a week. Okay. And when you're first starting out, you're going to have to invest a little bit more time. Whether you figure out how to double yourself by hiring a VA or something else, which is something you can figure out later. But this is just, okay, how much time do I really work in my business? And when we talk about work, I'm talking about genuine work, the income producing work, not the fluff that I've been sitting here looking in a catalog for 10 hours at different things that I'd like to be able to sell. Those are two different types of work. So we're talking about real work that's income producing, income generating, or income retaining activities in your business. So how much time do you have available to commit to that? And it doesn't matter what your e-commerce method, whether you're doing print on demand or you're doing drop shipping, like how much time do you invest? Now, doing drop shipping and investing 5 hours may be realistic, or doing print on demand and investing 5 hours may be realistic. So again, some of this is based off your e-commerce method. And then determine the resources that you're going to need. Again, if you have to ship stuff yourself, you're going to need boxes and tape and paper and things like labels, whatever. So you're going to need different things for your business. What are those resources? And again, if you have maybe a membership, what are the things that you need? Hiring your kids, again, something you could help you to be able to double yourself. And Hiring your kids could potentially, depending on what it is that you do, help with resources. It just depends on your e-commerce method. So, time, money, and resources, figure that, document that first, and then figure out where the fat is and trim the fat, or figure out where the honesty lives, and so you know what the real available time is. Next is to analyze your sales. Which platforms are you selling on? And what are the platforms you're selling on? And then what is the e-commerce method that you're engaging in? So maybe you're a person and you're doing a few different things. And so you're like a scatter diagram. This is your opportunity, if you're looking to go full time, that you might want to hone in on the platform and or platforms. And you might want to hone in on the method of e-commerce that you think is going to work best for you long term, or something that you can sustain for a good 6 to 12 months. You can always switch it up after you've kind of gotten the momentum and gotten to your income level that you need to be at. But again, figure that out, what you feel like is going to work best for you. If you're a newbie, you have to do a little bit of research to figure that out, so that you can try it. Okay. Next is your average sales per month. You want to look at your numbers for the last 3, 6, 9, and 12 months if you've been selling for a while. If you're a new person, you have nothing to gauge. But you do want to figure out your sales, because sometimes that will give you some stats and some numbers that are helpful for quarterly estimates. So you can figure out on a quarterly basis, like, okay, on average, I make this much money. And then you can reverse engineer that into how much is that per month in income that I'm actually making. So go look at your stats. Now, if your stats are really bad because you've been very, 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 very inconsistent, you can do some multiplication. So if you're going to increase the amount of time that you invest in your business from 10 hours a week to 20 hours a week, then you can, just for estimating purposes, double up your sales, because the more time you spend, if you spend it on the right things, hopefully you can get your numbers to go up with you. That's not 100% guarantee. If you don't want to double it, if you just want to at least increase it by 50%, again, just so you can have some numbers to kind of work with, figuring out your average sales. Figure out your product or niche performance. Which products have served you well over the last 3, 6, 9, 12 months? Which ones have you gotten the most sales, the most traction, or which niches? Because again, if you haven't been analyzing your data, this will give you some really good insight. This may actually help you to identify any private label opportunities, any print on demand or drop shipping opportunities, so that you can go hard in the paint in that specific niche. So again, figure it out, go do the research and do the analysis, which ones are performing the best. And then next, if you're new, you want to go and you have to research, test, and document. If you're new, you want to, as part of this process, you're going to have to just start. You're going to have to start and be consistent for at least 3 months, if not 6 months is better, so that you can have some baseline data to start with, so that you know what your numbers are, or you have an idea. That doesn't guarantee that that's what your numbers will be. And just a cautionary tale, if you're starting and your first start is Q4, just know that those numbers are going to be skewed, because sales are inflated during Q4. So if you're starting and you're basing your results off of the first 3 months and they happen to be Q4, that's not realistic. I would definitely continue on into first quarter, so that way you can get maybe a better gauge of what first, second, and third quarter might look like, because fourth quarter is inflated. Next, we're going to talk about determining your needs. So what do you need to learn after you kind of analyzed your data? What do you need to learn? What are your weaknesses? This is information you need to know. So this is what you need to know, really. Identify what you need to know. You need to know what you need to learn. So if one of the things that you are not good at is product research, or maybe sourcing, or maybe just better understanding the platforms or analyzing the reports, then that's something you need to know. You need to document what you need to know. And I document what your weaknesses are. What are your challenges that you run into when it comes to being a seller? The next one, you're going to use that information to make some decisions in the future. Next is determine how much money you're going to need to make each month, the bare minimum. Okay. How much do you need to live? How much do you need to survive? Okay. and to take care of your family. It's always good to have a cushion, especially if you have a family. If you have a family, you want to have at least a cushion of a year. That's the recommended. If you're single, you can have a cushion of anywhere from 3 to 6 months. That's what's recommended. And again, don't let the 3 months be fourth quarter. Okay. How much time can you commit to this business? Again, if you've been random, very random, and you've not been consistent in your business, and you're really wanting to make this full time, then you need to figure out how much time you can really commit to the business. This is in addition to juggling family and household obligations and needs, pets, uh, relationships, all that other stuff. How much can you really commit? And how many hours per day or per week can you commit to this? So you need to figure that out. What are the obstacles to your success? What are the things that are slowing you down, stopping you? Because you're going to have to, you need to know these things so you can put a plan in place. Okay. So, what are those obstacles that are setting you back? If it's mental, then that's something you're going to have to focus on for a little bit before you can go into a full time mode. Okay. If you're thrust out the gate, let's say you lost your job because a bunch of people have gotten laid off, then of course, then your window in which to kind of figure some of this out is much shorter if you're wanting to make this a full-time gig for you. And then how much do you have in savings? Savings is going to be something that you may have to lean on as you are working to build your income in your e-commerce business over time. So again, if you have a lot of available time right now, that means you can throw a bunch of your time at this. And if you have a bunch of available time, get products or items that might be free for you. I'm just throwing that's an extra bonus. So if that's an opportunity when you're figuring out what your plan is going to be. Okay. So the last part is to plan, learn, and execute. One is to put together create a game plan. Okay. So your game plan might be to reach out to all your friends and neighbors and church members and say, hey, I'm running started my own business. You got a bunch of stuff that that you're gonna donate anyway. Can I have it so I can list it so I can make some money? That is what I did back in 2000 and what year was that? 8? 7? I don't know what year it was. But I didn't really list it on eBay or Amazon or anything. I actually got it started selling, doing Craigslist and Facebook garage sales and then listing on selling having garage sales and then doing Craigslist. That's how I got started. And I did all free stuff for like a while. So it's a possibility. People accumulate a lot of crap. We all do. We have stuff that we don't need. So ask people if they want to clear out their storage unit, volunteer to do that. If that's something, if revenue is a problem for you and you don't have enough money. But again, I wasn't going to get that deep into it, but I'm just saying. So create a plan, develop your game plan after you get your numbers and you identify what your needs are. Next is to establish a schedule. Define some goals or establish some goals, figure out your timelines that you're going to shoot for, and set some milestones. So, let's say that your first milestone is you get to your first $2,000 in profit. Then you get to your next 3,000 or 2,500 or 4,000 or 5,000. You're going to gradually baby step it so that way you can say, okay, I'm ready to make this my full-time thing. Or again, if you've thrust out the gate and you don't have any choices, then, you got to throw everything you got at it. So put together a schedule, goals, timeline, milestones, and then gain the knowledge needed or implement solutions where you have a lack of knowledge. So an example would be like, okay, you maybe don't have enough knowledge about product research. So maybe you purchase a keyword research tool or product research tool to help you with that. Again, I don't normally recommend that. If you're a new person, I don't recommend that you spend money on tools right out the gate because all you're doing is paying for tools. But if you have a bunch of time available to you, you can start that to fast track your journey. So figure out what your knowledge is. Where's your gaps? What are the things you need to learn? And what are the things you need to put in place in order to be successful and to maintain the schedule that you just built to reach your goals and your milestones based on your timeline? And then implement your plan and monitor your results. Implement it. Figure out, what's happening. See if you're hitting the timelines and the milestones that you targeted and make adjustments if you need to. And then last, stay consistent. Be very consistent in the things that the plan that you created and executed on a regular basis.